I am always looking to learn new skills and techniques. I've taken classes in welding, stained glass, pottery, and even glass blowing. So when I came across this plaster casting powder by Let's Resin, I was intrigued. You can make some cool things out of it, like this soap dish, and it dries in about 1 hour. You can also duplicate your own small items by using a 2-part silicone to make your own molds, and this might be really useful for certain types of restoration. So today on Alley Picked, let's learn something new. I bought this complete kit, and I plan to use up all the product to make as many items as I can.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm sorry to interrupt the flow of this wonderful video, but while I was making it, I came across a similar product to Magic Pour. It's called Mix to Mold, and I bought 5 pounds of it from Hobby Lobby for only $18.99. So next week, my plan is to review this and then compare it to the Magic Pour. So if this is of interest to you, you won't want to miss it. Now, back to the regularly scheduled program. The kit is by a company called Let's Resin, and it's called Magic Pour. So let's open it up and see what's inside the magic box. And inside the magic box we have... I told you it was a magic box! Here's what really came in the box. 1 kilogram of the powder, which is about 2.2 pounds. And you mix this with water in a 3-to-1 ratio by weight. So 3 ounces of powder, 1 ounce of water. Here's some mixing utensils. Some acrylic paints to mix with the plaster. It comes with 6 sheets of sandpaper, 2 1000 grit, 2 320 grit, and 2 2000 grit, 3 silicone molds, and I'll try all of those. And finally, 2 mixing cups. Even though I had these instructions, I did want to learn more creative and interesting techniques. So I went on YouTube to be sure I knew what I was doing. And by the way, every single video that I saw on YouTube was made by a woman. Do I need to check my manhood? I'll be right back. That's a relief. Manhood intact.
We're like children. We're not men.
No, we're not. We're not men.
The kit comes with 3 molds, but I did borrow a few others from a friend. I'm using compressed air to blow out any dust and debris from inside the molds that I can't see. Since the powder is white, the last thing you want to see is a black hair right in the middle of your finished project. You can also use some alcohol to clean the molds and the cups. Unfortunately, you can't tell how much product you're gonna need until you try it. For my first attempt, I'll weigh out 9 ounces of powder and 3 ounces of water for a 3-to-1 ratio. Mixing this stuff is easy. It takes about 30 seconds. Just be sure to crush all the clumps and scrape the bottom. You should end up with a creamy mixture, about the consistency of melted vanilla ice cream. The first mold took up almost all of the 9 ounces of powder that I mixed. Once it's filled to the top, you'll let it set for at least 30 minutes. While that's drying, I'll mix up another 6 ounces this time and add some acrylic paint. You just keep adding it until it becomes the color you like. It doesn't seem to blend thoroughly, but it still looks pretty cool. Keep in mind that you don't have too much time to wait, as this stuff starts to set up rather quickly. This silicone mold is a cup, or more specifically, a toothbrush holder. I mixed up another batch, and this time I'm going to try adding some mica powder, which I use for coloring epoxy. This mold is a soap dish, and I'm experimenting here by filling half the mold with plaster and half with epoxy. The epoxy is going to take about 24 hours to dry. About 45 minutes later, I was able to remove this white tray from the silicone mold. It peels out very easily. This looks really nice and perfectly smooth, except right here. There are 2 small holes on the edge. That's unfortunate, but also fortunate because of the location. I am able to sand and round off these edges, so it's not going to be visible when it's finished. This stuff sands fairly easily with 320 grit paper. I'd say it's comparable to sanding pine wood. For about 25 bucks, I was able to make 7 really cool items. Of course, the molds, well, they're reusable. Also, don't forget you need to seal whatever you make, and for that you can use a wax, or in my case, I bought this sealer by Mix to Mold for 10 bucks at the hobby store. Now I'm going to talk about the good and the bad with this product. First up, the bad. The inks. The inks that come with the set don't really mix extremely well. They tend to be a bit grainy. Now, I suppose if I mixed it for a lot longer, I might get more of a creamy consistency rather than a speckled look. But remember, you only have so much time before this stuff starts setting up, and it does set up rather quickly. Next up, the cost. You don't have a lot of options with this product. You can either buy the kit for 27 bucks, or you can buy a larger container of the powder, 3 kilograms or about 6.5 pounds for $36. It's not hugely expensive, but I'd like to see it just a little bit cheaper. That's me, Mr. Alley Picked. The biggest problem that I've had with this product is that almost all of the projects that I've made have some minor imperfection. They have these little tiny holes that show up on the edges. In some cases, I was able to sand that out and make it completely unnoticeable. I even took the back end of a small paintbrush and rubbed it on the bottom areas all over the mold, but I still ended up with some defects. If that showed up right in the middle of your project, that's going to be a problem, especially if these are items that you plan to sell.
It just goes to show you, it's always something. If it's not one thing, it's another.
One thing that I really wanted to know is how fragile these are. If I drop this from a height of 12 inches, is it going to break? Let's find out. Yes. It did break, which is really what I expected. What I didn't expect was that I couldn't crack this piece with my bare hands. It's actually a pretty strong material. Now let's talk about the good. This stuff dries quickly. You can demold in about 30 minutes. You can make a lot of product in a short time. There's no odor. It's a lot of fun to make things, and you can be very creative with color and various other materials which you can add to the mix. Now, don't forget about next week when I compare Magic Pour to Mix to Mold. I'm Tom, this is Alley Picked, and thanks for watching.